One, two, one, two.
One, 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 one.
One, two, one. Okay. One, two, one, two.
One, two, one, two.
One, two, one, two. You
yep,
good?
yep. Mm-hmm.
What about his? Can you, somebody speak into his just in case so we don't have, oh, he's here. Okay. Cool. Gravy.
You need me to get up? Hold up.
I don't know. Yeah, because I want to hit that. Greetings all, greetings all. Welcome to the NYCHA podcast. We are here. We are in the building. Start your watch parties. Start sharing. Let's do a check. Money Mike, you in the building?
Yeah.
Okay. Stan the man, you in the building?
1, 2. Yes, I am. 1, 2.
Okay. All right. About to get this going. We got to get this going.
I hear something.
Some static. Technical difficulties, but we're going to get there. We here. Little technical difficulties. Please stand by, but we here. All right, we looking copacetic. Let's see. Check these cameras. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. We here. We're about to start.
All right.
All right, so thank you all for tuning in to the NYCHA podcast. You see the team is here, and we're going to get this ball rolling. Messing with the cameras, but we're going to get this ball rolling. And
Yes.
so welcome back to our viewership. We've been on a little hiatus.
Yep.
But we are here. So Money Mike is sitting in the cut as always. He's
Money,
so
Mike.
smooth. He's so
Smooth Mike.
So we're going to do what we normally do. Rock is in the building, but he's a little busy, and that's cool. So we're going to jump into what we normally do. We're going to talk about our week, and we'll be looking for you all to be talking to us through chat. Please share once again. Share. Let's get this going. I'm going to just jump in and talk about my week, and then we're going to hit Stan, and then we're going to hit Mike, and then we're going to
Yes.
go into our show for today. So my past several weeks have been busy and blessed as usual. I think I talked about it last time we were on because we've been away for 2 weeks. CB8 Manhattan, we had our Social Justice Committee meeting in late October, in which thoracic surgeon Roger Flores
Right.
was on, former mayoral candidate. Stan was there. Octavia, our former guest, was in the audience
Okay.
there. She was able to put some of her stuff on record, and we basically talked about the living conditions within NYCHA and how it's hazardous. And we passed a resolution, and hopefully and prayerfully that resolution will go forth to the full board meeting. And if it does, it goes out to all elected officials in our district, as well as the mayor, the Manhattan Borough
That's big,
president.
big.
So yeah, and even the incoming mayor. We even injected him in there.
Okay.
On the 26th of October, I'm blessed to have turned 55. So
All right, yeah.
so.
That's big.
Happy birthday to me, and I had my first speaking engagement, right, in which I will be receiving an honorarium.
Great.
So that's I've spoke before on different things, and I'll speak. Don't get it twisted. I will speak for nothing, but it's a blessing to be able to receive compensation financially to speak. I was also featured on Community Board 8's CB8 Zoom Speaks, which they call it, and with my phenomenal co-chair, Sarah True. They wanted to know about the work we're doing, what vision for the board, this actual committee rather going forward, what kind of guests we're looking for. And it was ironic. I was able to say the fact that people are contacting us to come and speak and present at our Community Board Social Justice Committee.
Great.
That's amazing. The Homesizers Coalition hosted another event, which was the day before Halloween. The last time I was here, I talked about the one we did on the 23rd. We had another event on that Saturday. On Tuesday, I attended the 3rd annual Women's Veterans Day tribute ceremony in Central Park, where several women were honored. Our current governor, as well as this phenomenal woman of color, this black woman, Zita Merchant. Y'all should all get to know who she is. She's a Coast Guard captain, and she has her doctorate degree, and she's just a phenomenal woman. And I also did a virtual tour. I showed it, I believe, on my page with RX Homes, which was prescription homes, because homelessness is solvable. And shout out to them. We will be bringing them on the show eventually to talk about the homelessness crisis in New York City and how it can be solved. Without further ado, I'm going to jump into Stan the Man.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a big shout out to the residents at Ravenswood. We've been having continuous community meetings there over the past, I would say 2-3 months now. And the meetings have been growing. They've become steady. Okay. And I see a lot of leadership. Big shout out to Dr. Sharon Cadiz, her husband Edwin Cadiz, Lisa Dixon, Flip Johnson, some of the leaders that are stepping up over there. And also I met with the resident council president, Carol Wilkins. So big shout out to her, because we was kind of at odds for the last couple of, I guess, months leading up to these meetings that we're having. And why that's so important is that community organizations that work in NYCHA are not always against the resident council president, but sometimes you have the conflict if the resident council president is perceived to be in favor of the blueprint or RAD or what have you. So in our meetings, she came out and said, well, she's not in favor of the blueprint, and she's not in favor of RAD. So that was a big thing, because now we can work together. Okay. And what will happen in that case is that, the people are not divided, hearing misinformation from two different sides, and not knowing who to trust and who to believe. So I think we have a real opportunity in Ravenswood to really to build something, with the two organizations working together, meaning Justice for All and the resident council president. So I'm very excited about that, and I think we could do the same thing hopefully in Queensbridge. I'll be reaching out to the resident council president there shortly, and also in Astoria, and maybe we can build something here in Western Queens and show that we can come together as organizations to work with resident council presidents to really bring a united front, because it's so important, because in all reality, next year this blueprint is going to be put back on the agenda. And most of these elected officials are going to kind of follow what they think the residents want. A lot of times the resident council presidents represent what the residents want, or they say they do, but maybe they're not really fully representative of what all the residents really feel. So being able to come together in a united way will put a lot of pressure Mike Janavis and all the other elected officials that have a say-so,
Right.
in this whole thing. So I'm really happy that we were able to do that, and I'm hoping we can continue and really build this relationship and show how this can be done. So big shout out to Carol Wilkins, big shout out to the Ravenswood folks who are really doing this, and we're going to build some power there. Our next meeting is going to be on the 30th of November at the Ravenswood Community Center.
Okay.
And we are expecting a real big turnout. So real happy about that. I want to say congratulations to my son, Malcolm.
Yeah.
He's coming out the hospital today. So it's been a rough couple of days dealing with his illness. He's not pain-free. He's still going to have some pain. But hopefully he can stay out the hospital and hold himself together and really and get well. So I'm hoping for that. They also won an Emmy, previous to this. Before he went to the hospital, him and my daughter won an Emmy for an excellent program with exposure that speaks about bullying.
Okay.
And bullying still remains a real big issue that a lot of kids are dealing with and kind of goes under the radar, So good work for the exposure program. Big shout out Ray Thomas, for bringing these kids together and being able to really make some things happen. So that was my week. It was putting on the Money Mike.
Money Mike. And that's your development he's talking
Yeah,
about.
talking about Ravenswood, yes.
Where you from? Tell people where you from.
Well, like you saying like that? Like, I live in Ravenswood.
Okay.
I live in
Well,
Ravenswood.
that's
I'm from Brownsville.
Okay. Ooh.
But,
okay.
But yeah, we threw a Halloween event for Halloween.
Okay.
And we haven't had a show ever after
Yeah.
that. So
Right. Yeah, we didn't do anything.
yes,
How
we
was
had a
it?
Halloween event. It was better than expected. They had the bouncy houses, but then the generator messed up. They had to get another one, but I mean, he still had a great time. Had pumpkins, was able to be painted, and still got candy and things like
Who
that.
helped organize it? You and who else?
Me, Lorenzo, Deja,
Okay.
and a few other people actually helped us.
Community effort.
It's sponsored by Justice for All. Right?
Yes.
We gave some
Yes.
funding for it. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sponsors from Justice for All as well.
Stand the man.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You
it
the
came
face.
out.
You the face.
It came out great, actually. It came
Okay.
out great. But I want to do this next year again. I want to do more.
Well, this
actually.
this your second one,
Second
right?
year, yes.
So
We
we
have
in
another one
our
next
second
year.
one too. So yeah,
But,
awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Building
Hopefully-
power, community.
Only if we have more money to do things every month, but it takes time for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Time.
next year we can start doing the monthly thing.
Gotta start
but-
just doing things, and once you start doing it, people see it, and they will invest in you.
Absolutely.
Can we talk about our boy that had? He's a lawyer now, right? He passed the bar. Can you just mention that? Congratulations.
Yeah, big shout out to my good friend Donley Rodriguez. Just passed the bar.
Love you.
And so, I'm excited about what he's going to be able to bring to the movement. For those who don't know Donley, he's a dynamic speaker, powerful advocate. Helped me somebody that was by my side throughout this Justice for All journey. From the very beginning to now. And definitely wishing him the best and all the greatest. And I believe that we as a community and this movement is going to benefit. Because I think Donley's going to become like our Thurgood Marshall. He's going to become that lawyer, I believe, that really will take our cause to the courts and really hold NYCHA accountable. So big shout out to Donley Rodriguez for passing the bar. Big news.
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah, he's good people. He's good people. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about some things today. We've all elections are done, right? I think I know for me, Julie Menon made it in. Alvin Bragg, Manhattan District Attorney. We have the first Black district attorney in the county of Manhattan. So let me give him some. That's historic. There are some naysayers, but that does not matter because I know he's going to do a great job. He's not, he's done a lot of work already, fighting for justice. He's prosecuted police before and all of that. So, because he's been in different areas. We actually had him on our show before. And we might as well pull up his clip eventually or his show and start resharing it so people could get to know the new Manhattan County District Attorney, Julie Menon. Congratulations to her. District 5, one of our guests we had on. She's made it in. And I'm going to go around to y'all, too, so y'all can shout out some people that y'all know that made it in. Sure. Gail Brewer, she's leaving from Manhattan Borough President to go back to the City Council, so she won. And quite a bit. We have a Black Vanessa Gibson, right? I'm from the Boogie Down Bronx, so shout out to her. She's going to actually be the Bronx Borough president.
Yep.
So, a lot of history has been made. And then these 2022 elections are coming up. That's
Yep.
your assembly. That's what else is coming up? The governor race.
Yeah.
I understand his current mayor, which we're going to speak about, that's in office now, as well as the one that's coming in. He put in papers to run.
Yep.
So he's looking to run. Jamani, I think, is exploring it. Jamani Williams, our public advocate. Letitia James is in the race.
Yeah, yeah.
So, this is going to be really good. And I would say that the current mayor she's stacking some things already because she brought in Senator Brian Benjamin. She's bringing in, I don't know if he's going to accept or not, or if it's fully, I don't know if he's vetted, whatever he needs to do. Assembly member Robert Rodriguez
Right.
will be, I believe is Secretary of State?
Right.
Something like that. So she's definitely stacking her cheese. But let me go around the room and y'all tell me what's what. Oh, and lastly, let me just say, y'all know we just got over the census, right? Census 2020.
Right.
So every 10 years, redistricting can happen. So I testified before the Independent Redistricting Committee. And when I testified, I spoke about my 5 buildings, the public housing development that I'm in the 2 homes in Isaacs, how our assembly district is in East Harlem.
Right.
So the people across the street has Assembly Member Dan Court, which they're in the 73rd district. So that's systemic,
Right.
because we don't live in East Harlem. So we live on the Upper East Side, and why are we not represented? And I spoke. They questioned me. They said this is the kind of testimony they want to hear. They asked me to draw the line. So maybe I might need somebody. If there's any artists out there want to help me draw the line, so I could send it to them and see what happens. Because every 10 years, people don't realize if you're not satisfied how your area is redlined or separated, you have a chance to go before the commission and speak. Especially if you see that you're not receiving what you should,
Right.
or see that you're left out, or you think it's a racist redlining or the drawing of the lines, you need to speak out. But anybody you want to talk about, guys, I'm shooting over to you all.
Well, that whole redlining issue is interesting, and I don't know how true it is, but I saw how Ravenswood might be redlined and sort of be made part of Manhattan, which I thought was incredible, and I'm hoping that that's not true. Because if that is the case, compared to how the rest of people in Manhattan will be feeling about Ravenswood, it would be forgotten, in my opinion. So that whole redistricting can really be a big issue, But we met with Julie. Yes.
No, I just said that's something new.
Yeah. I saw it at one of our community meetings. One of the residents, I won't call his name out, but he brought the information and showed us this. And it was like, how are you going to make Ravenswood
Manhattan,
a part of Manhattan?
That don't make no sense.
But
Queensbridge is going to be called Queens Manhattan Bridge?
Right.
They already have a Manhattan Bridge.
And now is
Right.
the time to strike, because I believe the commission is coming to Queens. If they didn't, I think it's next week in
Right.
Brooklyn. So if there's things that bothering people, I know you on camera, but that's okay. If there's things that bothering people, you need to sign up. I can put the links in so you can register and sign up. You could testify via Zoom or in person. But it's good to get this out here because these are things that a lot of us just take for granted,
Right. But we met with Julie Wan, who's a new city council person in the 26th district, I believe. And the meeting went well. It was okay. We didn't meet for a great long amount of time, so I was a little disappointed that we only had a half an hour, and it wasn't that much of a substantial conversation. So hopefully we can have other conversations with her going forward. We also reached out to Tiffany Caban's office. We haven't gotten a response.
Who's Tiffany Caban?
She's also our new city council person. I believe in the 32nd district. I'm not.
Okay,
I believe.
So she won her race.
And she won her race. And we need these folks to really respond. It's one thing to get in office, and it's another thing to really serve your community. And so we've heard a lot of lip service from a lot of elected officials throughout this whole campaign season, and I just hope that it's not going to be a case where people come around, take some pictures, and so forth and so on, and then disappear, And in that conversation with Julie, we didn't get a chance to talk a lot about NYCHA.
Right.
So these are some of the concerns, that we have for some of these new folks coming in. Like, what are you really going to do, to represent your NYCHA residents? And I haven't heard much of a plan from some of these elected officials as of yet. Hopefully that will be coming. I guess they're transitioning.
Right.
So we want to give them a little bit of
hiring.
time. But,
They're hiring and, yeah.
at some point in time, the rubber got to meet the road.
Yeah.
And you got to show what your real commitment is to the folks in NYCHA.
That's true. And we also should have been looking at their actual agendas and, to see if they're really representing us, of what we want as people. So that's another reason why you should vote for people. I'm going to jump into you in a second, Money Mike. Just want to acknowledge the room. So we have Renee Harrison, Emily Johnson, and Georgia Watkins. Who else? That's a few people. Helen Williams.
Welcome all.
Some more. Yeah, welcome, and thank you for tuning in. Renee Harrison says, good afternoon. Here for the listening as Rad Pack is coming to my front door. A lot of literature. Geez, Wrangle houses. Wow. Okay. Wow. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. Hopefully it could be, it could be stopped. Things can be stopped if it's not, totally in print and everything is done. I mean, right now, I think they're trying to get the residents, trying to like dangle it over them and let them know how great it is. But, just dig deep, because this is something we don't want. Any form of privatization we are against. Go ahead, Stan.
I just want to say that the whole thing that the way NYCHA is approaching this, I spoke to a senior citizen in Ravenswood, and she told me I'm just telling you what they tell me. She said she's getting phone calls, from folks to sell her apartment. So I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, this is all new information, so the residents are being bombarded, with phone calls. They're being bombarded with letters coming to their house. They're being bombarded, with a propaganda campaign pushing Rad and Pack, and it's really insidious, because they're doing this at the same time that they are ignoring repairs, so people must understand that, the ignoring of the repairs is purposeful, because it plays into this Rad Pack blueprint scheme that they're shoving down our throats, right. So they could spend time to do that, but they won't send somebody to fix any repairs in your apartment. So I think it's insidious where they put their time and attention to, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
Your thoughts?
Be honest.
Huh?
Be honest. Mm-hmm. I have nothing to say on it, to be honest. I don't have nothing to say.
Well,
I couldn't be honest.
Nothing's going on in Ravenswood regarding privatization or nothing?
The same thing keep happening over and over again, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I could keep saying bad things over and over again about Ravenswood, it's going to be the same thing over and over again. And I can't always blame workers for what,
right.
Because, it's not their fault all the time. Because, right. for an example, if I'm getting underpaid or if I'm getting overworked and underpaid and other things that happen in the work area that we all don't know about, because I was a building maintenance worker before.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And I know the issues that we had as a building maintenance worker, and it was problem. Like I had my supervisor or project manager try to flip and curse me out, and they got me suspended the week after my birthday. After they got me all drunk, and they gonna get me suspended because I ain't want to go take a bed out without a bed bug suit.
Right.
They had a bed bug suit, but I'm 6'3.5". They had a small. I couldn't fit that.
They can't force you to do that.
So
No, you was right. Your union should have repped you on that.
And we ain't have a union because this was L&M Developments. This was I guess what some people call it right now too, because they was private. They was privatizing. Well, they was Section 8. They were Section 8.
That's
taking over
NYCHA,
taking over certain NYCHA. Like this was Saratoga houses, where seniors is at in this building.
Who was paying you? Was NYCHA paying you? The city of New York?
No, CNC is the partner management, but L&M Developments is, and CNC was like partners in the same thing. So
they're privatized. That's private.
We but they wanted us to be better than NYCHA workers, but basically, so they want us to work harder than NYCHA workers and wanted us to do things NYCHA workers didn't do. So, and I'm pretty sure they get that NYCHA workers get that headache too from them who's not even making the rules. Like if you want them to do a better job, give them better equipment. Give them more workers, that do other things that they can't do.
But
If somebody doing inside, have somebody do outside. I mean, the lobby should be done as soon as somebody wake up in the morning, but so should the compactor,
Right.
because the compactor could overflow. I mean, so should the garbage in the street. All them things should be done in the morning, so they should just hire more people and do other things, or get better equipment. But
Usually with the city, and the city agencies, they follow supposed to be following OSHA, the rules and regulations, and their workers trained. Because when I was with NYPD, there was trainings for our cleaners, and our cleaners couldn't do certain things. They knew the rules, and they would refuse to do certain things if they didn't have the proper equipment to do certain cleaning, and stuff like that. So that's just crazy. But yeah.
And I don't want to just say the good, because the good it won't be towards NYCHA, it would be towards the people themselves. Like, for example, I have a neighbor who actually just goes in the hallways and sweep them up the hallways when she wants to,
Right.
That would be,
Sadly, yeah.
that would be a compliment for the residents and not NYCHA itself. So
Yeah.
if I have anything to say about Ravenswood, I don't got nothing to say.
Well, but you said a lot, and there is, for now, there's no plan to privatize. Although,
You
again,
forced me, Stan.
no, but you got to represent. But there's a lot of rumors out there. Even speaking to Ravenswood residents, they're telling me, there's speculation that sometimes some of the buildings might be going private within the development. There's not part of the RAD package. So we're beginning to hear more and more and more of that, and it's really disturbing. So when we say 1/3 of NYCHA is already gone, the number's probably higher than that at this particular point. So we're losing more of our housing stock than we know, but at the same time, we are supposedly receiving some funding from the infrastructure bill. So I know there's some questions about how this funding is going to be dispersed. And there's also questions about whether some of this funding is actually going to be pushed into Section 8, which will, if it's not monitored correctly, could lead to the privatization of NYCHA. So there's some tricks in this Build Back Better infrastructure bill that Biden has pushed. But at the same time, I want to give a big shout out to all the organizations, whether it's Justice for All, Holmes Isaacs, just all the organizations, Save Section 9, the various organizations out here, because we are winning this fight. Chuck Schumer came on here and he promised a certain amount of money. We're not getting that amount. I think he said $40 billion was supposed to come to us. I think the number's like maybe $30 billion or something to that effect. So we didn't get the full amount of it, but we just gotta be careful how that money's dispersed and make sure that we're at the head of NYCHA residents are involved in monitoring it, because I'm afraid this money may, disappear.
Yeah.
Like so many other monies have disappeared.
If you go fill out an application on NYCHA right now, you will see them say, "You sure you don't want to go to RAD?"
Is that really?
Really? I'll show you right now.
Okay.
See, this is like a marketing campaign.
Yeah. I would say this regarding funding, if whatever the monetary amount is, if they do not flush the funding in forthwith, because if they spread it over 10 years or something like that, that's going to be harmful.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the biggest things, because funding does come in to NYCHA, and it's always over within 10 and 5 years, usually 10 years. And so that was usually like $250 million from this and that doesn't help us.
Right.
You need to get the money in, hire the people to do the work, and preserve our homes, because the biggest issues in our apartments, and it's not everybody's apartment, but a lot of people's apartments, is the bathrooms with the leaks in their kitchen area, So those are the two biggest parts, with the pipes and stuff like that, and that's an infrastructure part. And if this is a Build Back Better, then, the pipings are old, and we understand that. But I spoke at my resident council meeting, and I directed it to the superintendent and the manager. People are complaining. I mentioned my line. I'm on an H line. And he goes, "Ms. Coleman, it's the whole, I understand it's the whole building, but I'm speaking about my line." You know what I mean? Because my line, the neighbors above me and further up, I'm on the 10th floor, they have we have bad bathrooms. We have leaks and all this stuff in our walls, and it's really horrible. And you just can't see how they can allow us to live like this, because they broke my wall before.
Right.
They broke my tiles and they did a repair, and this was pre-COVID. And my whole thing is, I got to go through this again?
Right.
So it is not even, they didn't fix the problem. It's the pipe. It's
Right.
the pipes and stuff. So, and that's an issue. So, yeah. But we
Yeah.
need to jump into and talk about this new administration. I'm a kick it to you, Stan.
Well,
What you think?
I'm this whole election season. I'm not gonna say it's depressing, but we seem to get the same type of elected officials, all the time. And having run for office myself at one point and having gone through the process, I see sort of why that is so. And as I'm looking at Eric Adams, you're just starting, but I see some signs already that are cause for concern. First of all, in my opinion, he's cozying up, to a lot of the business part of this city, and that's good, fine, and well, But the
real
business,
estate guy,
right?
too.
But the real estate folks have an agenda.
Yeah.
So as you cozy up to them, their agenda really is not for the building of real affordable housing. Their agenda is not for really fully funding NYCHA. Their agenda is really to continue to put money into their pockets.
Right.
And Eric has already shown that he's willing to be very open to them, and so for me, that's already a red flag. And then I'm also hearing some of his ideas on policing, which is becoming a bit concerning. Yeah, we want a safe city, but
Don't want to be harassed.
right. But it seems like he's, kind of going in a direction from so far from what I can see, that may not be in the best interest of the most marginalized people. So that's my initial assessment. What do y'all think?
Yeah. Money Mike, you want to chime in yet? Or you still?
Y'all always trying to put me on the spot.
Come on now, you the co-host, co-founder. Let's go.
Y'all love me.
Yeah, we love you.
Hold on, because I was trying
Trying to find it.
Well,
You want me to get back
I
to
was
you?
trying to find something. I was trying to find
Okay,
something
fine.
else.
Yeah,
I'll
find
jump,
that.
I'll jump in too. So y'all know, many of y'all know I'm a BLM organizer up East Side for Black Lives Matter, and our vigil is right up the block from the mansion. So I have no faith right now. I don't have faith in man, period. Anyway, let me just say that first and
Okay,
foremost. My
that's a
faith
fact.
is in God. So I am prayerful, but I don't feel comfortable. I've been in some intimate spaces with Eric Adams, with other people that were running for office and elected officials, and I heard a lot of my city, my. And then in the meeting he had with Hawk Newsom from
Yeah, I heard about
Black
that.
Lives Matter Greater New York, which is separate from Black Lives Matter Global. So, and as an activist and organizer with BLM, although I'm part of Black Lives Matter, I don't subscribe to everything from either organization. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and I can say that, with that said, the mayor to be told him, it's going to be us. And he was like, Hawk and them said, we're going to hold you accountable. And he basically was like, no, you're the mayor of the city, and you the one that has to make sure that your cops are not abusing the people and everything like that. Of course we want public safety. 100%. Yes, we want guns off the street. But another thing I'm going to say, let me jump into this gun thing. This gun violence, it's so easy to lock up our black and brown kids and youth that make mistakes. But the main thing we need to do is focus on the gun traffickers and where the guns are coming from. That's the biggest thing, because taking one person off the street, taking 20 people off the street, seizing 20 guns, 50. Remember, I'm from NYPD, so I know. Seizing these guns. The guns are still here. They're still in the street.
Absolutely.
So you have to go bigger than that. And you know what? If they're young people, if somebody doesn't have a criminal record, get them some mentorship. Get them saved. Putting them
Right.
behind bars is not the solution, because the guns are still on the streets. And this is what we have to look at. And that's one of my things. And I hear people saying how people supposed to, they not doing this, or like with Hawk, he's not doing this. Look, let people advocate for what they want to advocate for. You do what you want to fight for.
Right.
Let me do because we can't do it all. And I think if we all doing some work in advocacy, we can have a better city. You know what I mean? Together.
Absolutely.
So let me just jump. Ready? You ready to go, Money Mike?
Well, I was just gonna say something like with the gun thing. Well, I don't know, because if we had a reason not to need to carry them, I don't understand, because police carry guns all the time, and they in the same, and they're just working in the same areas that we live in. You know, I'm not saying that some of them don't live in our areas, but you know, please, a lot of times when they come caught, they want to move to Long Island, so
Right.
they don't.
Upstate.
Well, upstate, so they don't.
You know, you're right. Long Island too.
So
yeah.
they don't
Staten
actually
Island.
live in the areas that we live in all the time. So if they gotta carry guns and bulletproof vests to protect themselves, I mean, I can imagine what some of the people that live out here have to go through. And I'm not saying that's a good thing that they have to go through that, but I mean, once again, that goes back to why do we go through that? I mean, it goes all the way back to, you know, society, or when they tried to start all this thing. I mean, they wanted to give us 40 acres in the mood, and they wanted to take that away. And
Going back.
then they wanted to sit there and expect us to play this. I watched some video when this guy was using Monopoly. Like, if I play Monopoly and I ain't start off with no money, I won't be able to buy a house. I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to do that in a Monopoly game, which is a fact. You won't be able to have the same starting grounds as everybody else who have the money in a Monopoly game. You won't be able to buy things that they'd be able to buy. You won't be able to do certain things that they'd be able to buy. So you will have to do things that they won't be able to do. You know, I mean. And not only that, like, you want to give us and put us in broke schools and don't expect us to grow up trying to sell some things. I mean, that's
Well, I think he's hitting on it. It's if you don't fix the systemic issues, you know, then there's a reason why people are getting the guns, right? There's a reason why people are selling
And to be clear,
drugs.
we're not saying we for guns because
Right.
we want to save
I'm
city.
I'm not saying I'm for guns, but I'll be honest, I'm not pro or anti, because I'm not trying to come up with an excuse saying that, oh, I understand why they have it, but I mean, nobody want to die.
Right. The
nobody
cops
wanna
want to go
die.
home, and we want to go home too.
You know, so nobody want to sit there and just say, oh yeah, it's a saying that a lot of people in the street say, I'd rather get caught with it than without it. You know, that's a saying that that's a lot of people in the street say. So, and that's the saying because, once again, nobody want to die. And the police want to, every time a cop gets shot or something, you see like 1,000 police cars come in about 5 minutes. And as soon as we got something like that happening to us, you know, it's going to take their time. So, I mean, nobody got no time to be relying on people who actually was created to keep us in the slavery system.
Wow, I just heard there was a
Slave
shootout
patrol,
in Ravenswood the other day.
Yeah.
Somebody I saw it on Facebook. It's broad daylight. I'm hearing.
Where are the guns coming
Right,
from?
right. They're being brought in by not us. We're not making the guns. We don't manufacture them.
Yeah.
You know, they're being brought in here and allowed to come in here. You know, mostly from down south. You know, where they got a lot of lax gun laws and gun restrictions, and they're able to get it in here into our city, into the hands of kids who don't have jobs, don't have training. You know, and really don't see that great of a future. And so, what do you think is going to happen? You know, you kind of have a perfect storm. You know, so it's not just about locking these kids up. You know, we got to give real opportunities. You know, so folks can not have to resort to that.
I mean, give them training at a young age and give them license to do it. I mean, it's not like you're going to stop people from using kitchen knives in their houses and you kill people with kitchen knives. It's not the weapon that actually kill people. The person that's holding it.
Well, that's right.
Another big thing is conflict resolution. You know, a lot of people don't know how to resolve conflict. And then if you look at the age factor of people and when they mature, that's also another factor. So, like, even with a crime, when you sentence somebody under 16 as an adult, he or she's not an adult. So why are you sentencing them as an adult?
Right.
You know, their mind is not developed. And, you know, and sometimes our youth, you know, they're trying to be cool. They get caught up in gangs. You know, we all have been adults. We all have made mistakes. You know, maybe not those mistakes, but we're not perfect. And like Stan said and Mike, you know, the opportunities, and that's where funding, you know, and that's where the term, when people say defund the police that people can't stand, you know, I come from law enforcement. There's not an officer, if they took $1 billion or $2 billion away, there's not an officer or a civilian member of service that will not get a paycheck. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
They will not get that extra funding, and that funding goes to overtime and so forth. Like, and we have to really, like I said, I was a payroll supervisor, so I know the waste, but we have to get some resources into these Black and brown communities that need. Look at all our community centers in public housing. They're private. A lot of them are privatized.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Privatized.
Right.
You know, we have two, one in Holmes and one in Isaacs, and they both say Isaac Center. They're privatized.
Right.
And if it wasn't for people like myself and others that were doing stuff since COVID and pushing, you know, like I teach bio writing in the center now. I don't get paid, but I do it on Thursdays. I volunteer. I'm in the community. I want to give to the community. So I said that on the show. I started doing it. I'm like 2 or 3 weeks in. But with that said, we have to actually create our own opportunities in our own communities.
Right.
And that's important. And hopefully one NYCHA down the road, we will be doing stuff going forward in some developments as well as a one NYCHA entity.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we need funding into our communities to allow our kids to thrive. You know, our kids have suffered since this pandemic. They're not, you know, the virtual learning may be okay for some, but not for all. So a lot of our kids are falling behind. You know, our education committee, it's the libraries and education. We're trying to work to see what we could bring into the public housing development where I'm at, you know, because we know our kids have suffered. And there's also things, because our center's privatized, and if something, they had an initiative with the Board of Ed, they had 60 spots, and then I'm gonna let Stan jump in. They had 60 spots for youth to come and get some extra help and so forth. I forgot what the initiative was called. Do you know none of our kids knew about it? And everybody from the neighborhood and on the Upper East Side, their kids were going there. And when I shot it out to some people that I knew and shared it with them, the spaces were available, but blocks away. So we're right there on our, you've been to our development.
Right.
Our campus, like, because of privatization and because they overlook Black and brown people, we don't even get what's coming in our neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? And that's crazy.
Right.
And I learned that from being a community board member and sitting in a meeting and finding out. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't see no literature up about it. No emails came out. And it was just a quiet little good storm. And I ain't going to say who got to benefit from it, but it wasn't our people.
Well, you got caught. Why would I take all this good stuff and just give it away to y'all?
Say that again?
I said, why would I have all this good stuff and give it away to y'all?
But it's in our house.
Right. No, that's
I'm sneaking it.
That's a shame, you know, and I guess that's one of the biggest fears of privatization, right? That shows you kind of really where it is right there, you know, that, you know, our spaces in our community is being taken away for the benefit of others, you know. So I think that's horrendous, you know, outrageous, you know, on its face, and this is why we have to win this fight. You know, we cannot afford to lose another inch of NYCHA property, NYCHA land, including the community centers, which are really not used. Even the one in Ravenswood, we have our meetings there, you know, but when I go in there, you know, I'm not seeing enough activity that really would attract the youth. And you have a recording studio in there. You have some stuff. Yeah, boxing in there. You know, I think Brother Alex is Brother Ravenswood is going to start a boxing program.
Pool game, workout,
everything.
They got punching bags.
That's good
and
for our young
and there's no
youth.
funding. Right. And so you wonder why, getting back to the issue of guns and everything else, you wonder why these things are happening. Right. If our community centers were being fully utilized, and when they say fully fund NYCHA, you know, part of that fully funding of NYCHA should be getting these community centers up and running so kids could have something productive to do. You know, then we're talking. But if we, like you said, Saundrea, if you're going to piecemeal it, give us this money in slow bits and pieces. We don't get to really fund the after the community centers. Right. We don't get the repairs we need in a timely manner. Exactly. Then really nothing's going to change. You know, so it's a victory, but not a victory if this money's not fully flushed in and actually create some programs so kids can have something to do.
Yeah. Emily Johnson says 3 spots are private and Carver houses. Wow. She says bring back Big Brothers male structured programs. How many buildings you have in Emily, if you could put in the chat, how many buildings are in Carver? Just curious.
Because see, that's crazy. See, that's not how are they doing that? When you ask the whole Rad Pack, that really should be illegal when you get right down to it, because they announced the buildings that were supposed to be part of the Rad Pack. And it was never, to my understanding, where you will take a building or 2 or 3
Said 13.
within a development and privatize it, and then the rest of the development is not private. So that should be called illegal on its face, because
I'll
that's
send you
not
an
legal.
email, Stan, and show you all the developments that community centers are privatized. Even in 2016, when I did a walkthrough in the Bronx with Richie Torres when he was the head.
Right.
Well, not the head. He was over the housing committee on the city council, and we had Lawrence O'Donnell there, and then I was on like a little side part of it, and because I was part of that time, I was with another organization, and my girl Charlie Nimmons, shout out to her, she was there, and because it was so many of us from the organization I was with, I stepped aside and let her get on the show. So I mean, that was just me, and I don't regret it. You know what I mean? Because it was like all of us were from the same entity except her, but she was, doing work with us. And so I let her, get on and they spoke. But even when we were there, we walked through that development in the Bronx. I can't think of the name of it, but their center, you seen the locks, the center was just padded closed.
Right.
And this is underutilized space. And these centers, the community centers, can save our kids. And remember, it's called a community center. So that means it won't just serve the NYCHA development. It would serve the
entire
community.
Right.
Because at our centers, people come, we serve a little bit of East Harlem a little bit, and we also have people coming from private buildings, some seniors, everybody, they eat there, they do different things there. So we have to open back up our community centers. We need the funding. And I'm hoping with our district attorney in Manhattan, I could say at least for Manhattan, and maybe he could take the lead in other ones, because they have discretion. They're going to have funding too.
Right.
And they could do certain things, in our community to save our kids. Because our youth, they need to be saved. Yes, we do need public safety, but we also need our kids, to be able to thrive.
Absolutely.
So,
If you have a good career and you have what you can consider something to lose, you're less likely to do a crime.
Right.
If I know I'm gonna move forward and have a $40,000-$50,000 a year job in front of me, and I had the training to do that, then I'm not going to, do something dumb and stupid to risk that. And I think Mike Jones is a perfect example. I told you, Mike, I'm gonna bring you up here.
Yeah.
But Mike's a perfect example. He's working with Rock, right? And now he's teaching classes, So I remember about maybe a few months ago, y'all were just talking about it, but now, a few months later, it's actually
Let me
being
give him a
done.
beat.
So can you talk a little bit, Mike,
Do it.
about
You're doing it, right?
about what you and Rock are doing? Because I think that's a perfect model and a perfect example
Yes.
of what can be happening with young people and how they could thrive. So
And
talk
he's
about it.
educated,
Right.
too. He's not no slouch.
Right.
My
so
brother.
Go ahead. So tell what are you guys doing in NYCHA developments as well as in schools and everywhere else?
And in hospitals.
In hospitals.
Well, we teach, basic life support, and Rock, he's top dog. I'm get there soon, but we teach advanced cardiac life support and pediatric advanced life support. That's for medicals. For the non-medical, we teach heart saver, which is just CPR, AED, probably getting a little first aid as well.
And a few months ago, you didn't know anything about this, right? You just got into it because he kind of showed you that this could become a profitable business for you, right? And so how's that developed? Which is a perfect example of what training could do, and for somebody who comes from Ravenswood. So
Well, be honest, Rock is Rock. We all know Rock. That's the entertainer. I can learn what people learned in 4 or 5 years in probably a week messing with Rock.
Right.
And I ain't gonna lie. You don't think Rock is smart as he is. Rock is smart too. I had him going to a hospital, and that was a whole, he just spoke things that I'm still confused on. I'm like,
Rock
what?
knows what he knows, right?
Right, yeah, that was the paramedic.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. He know a lot. And with the EKGs, I probably can read about 10, but he talking about cardiologists can read about 500. So, I'm not, and he teaches little EKGs too, so I can imagine how much more Rock know. I'm trying to get up there. You know?
Okay. Well, congratulations on that.
And that's an example of what training can do.
Right.
You
But
know,
that's just CPR. You know, we built the studios in the schools.
right. All of that. Y'all got a whole thing going on. You know, and so that's encouraging. You know, so when
Get
you want to keep
money.
kids off the streets, you give them an opportunity to make some
Exactly.
money, and they will then have a future and a career, not just a job. You know, this is a career. You have a business. You know, in all reality. So, you know, this is what we should be doing with our young folks. You know, and he's from Ravenswood.
Right.
You know, so imagine if all of our young people would have exposure to something like this. You know, what that would do. And one of the things that never happened in NYCHA is that they were supposed to do all this. You know, they were supposed to give us a way out, so to speak, you know, a leg up. You know, but over the years when NYCHA was built, that never happened. You know, so then you have generational poverty, so to speak, you know. But if you had training and things like that made available in these community centers and such, you know, you can change lives. Then folks can move out of NYCHA, buy a house and do whatever and kind of get a part of this American dream. But if you don't have that, folks stay stuck in 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and so forth and so on. And that's not what NYCHA was intended to be.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think we all over here grew up in public housing. I know Stan is not there anymore. Well, I don't know. Did you grow up? I can't speak for you. I know you grew up.
I grew up
Stan
Lafayette
in public
Gardens, yes.
housing. You
Yeah,
didn't grow
I lived in the project my whole life.
grew up in public housing too. Yeah, I mean, and you know what? When you look back, I don't know how old Money Mike is, but Stan could probably attest the cleanliness of public housing back in the day. The chains that we used to jump over, some of us would jump and actually fall over it because we didn't jump up. We didn't jump over
that.
We didn't jump over that good. Remember
that was
people-
before we had the little ball piece that we had. We had the chains. We had the
It didn't
wooden
look so.
benches.
It didn't look so much like a prison, right?
It looked beautiful. I mean, I remember you couldn't walk on the grass.
Right.
There was no piss in the elevator. There was no graffiti on the walls. You had cops. They were housing police. You know, so they knew us. We knew them.
We had Terry. Shout out to McKinley's. Y'all remember Terry?
Shout
Terry
out,
with the Jerry curl.
I'm about to say. I don't
shout
think
out
it was
to
that
Maynard
far
from
back.
Lafayette Gardens. You know,
Okay,
we knew them, and they would go to your mother. And if you did something wrong, they would just literally know your mother and be able to have a conversation. It wasn't about let me lock this kid up and throw him in jail. It was more like he's doing something wrong, disrespecting the development. And it was a way different environment. But over years of disinvestment, we end up what we have now.
Yeah, and I would say too, with the housing cop that we had, and I'm sure other people could attest back in the day, you wasn't messing with that housing cop. We would protect that house. Just like he had our back, we had his back.
Right.
And Terry would walk through, and I can't tell you, I don't know if Terry was seeing somebody. I was small or younger then, but I think Terry had him a little honey there, because Terry would walk through with his nice stick. He was a big, tall guy. You know, back in the day, they were really, had height, most of them, height and some stature. But he, walked through, and you don't see Terry for a little bit, and then Terry come out of a building. I don't know, maybe just checking the perimeters, but it's easy to get a honey too. But he was just, a nice guy, that, and you felt safe, and he felt safe. He didn't walk through with a partner.
Right.
He walked through by himself. Now when you think about like Gary, I might be messing up his name. When they have to do verticals and and they killed the young man
In the staircase.
in the staircase years ago. I mean, that's dangerous when they have to come in our buildings and do verticals.
Right.
Because if they're not trained or just fearful, they shouldn't be doing it. They shouldn't have the job. I'll say that, because that's just dangerous. But we didn't have crazy incidents like that like we have now.
Right.
We did have police involved shootings, yes, but nothing like we see now. Like now it's just I fear for my life, bang, and like we fear for our life too.
Right.
We don't want to get out our cars, we don't want to be stopped. We want to go home. And, I'm straight up, I have family in police department. I'm not anti-police, but I don't like abuse. I don't like the fact that they have impunity to do what they do to us. So, yeah.
And I know in Queensbridge, what I don't like, is they have police cars just parked in the development, lights flashing and all the rest. And it just seems pervasive. It seems like, if I'm a kid, I don't want to walk by and see all this police presence, because end of the day, it's really not stopping the crime. The crime continues to happen, but it's sort of like harassment. So more police and all that obviously is not the answer, because more crime is happening in NYCHA developments.
More opportunities.
Right. But they have a big presence, but they are not preventing crime at all.
In Browns, when I was leaving Crown Heights, me and a friend of mine we was walking through Browns. We just came from Crown Heights, and the D's just stopped us. This was years ago, and we was going through Brownsville. We was going to East New York. We was just walking, and on our way out of East New York, a marked car stopped us. I'm like, Dad, we got stopped twice in about less than 15 minutes.
Right.
And we ain't do nothing but walk.
Right. And
And it's a lot. I don't know recently, but it was cops on like every corner in Brownsville. You could sit there and go. I remember one day we saw 2 cops following us, and we were just going to the building. And the next thing you know, a bunch of them was coming from around the corner in front of us. And I'm like, what? And then we went in the elevator, just ignored them. And by the time we got to his floor, you just heard this beep, and then they just brought the elevator right back down.
Wow.
They got a key to bring the elevator down, so
Like the fire department.
Mm-hmm, so they was able to bring us down just to ask us if we was going.
And that's unjust.
Yeah, see.
That's unjust.
Right.
There's no probable cause. And see, that's what the stop and frisk and stuff was about.
Right.
Because they were abusing. And when you look at the numbers, I know the camera ain't on me, it doesn't matter. When you look at the numbers, it's crazy at the ratio of black and brown people compared to the ones being stopped that are not black and brown. And you can take the areas, right? So you take even where I'm at, the Upper East Side. Is a predominantly white neighborhood. And if you looked at probably in the 19th, the confines of the 19th where I live at, and looked at their stop and frisk, it was probably most likely, and they call it, I believe it's 250s, the sheet the little form they supposed to fill out when they stop you. But it was mostly black people. I remember leaving on the midnights, because I used to do midnights and when I was working in the 19th, and I'll never forget the cops when they would bring me home, drop me home, because the first platoon, they would work, and I was getting off. I did a 4 to 12. They would see the guys near my development, and they would drive the car really fast to watch them scatter. So it's just like little things they can do, and why? Because you can, but
And that's, I guess, so the mayor, when you talk about improving relationships, we want crime to go down, yes, but we also want a better relationship with the police, and it's not happening now. It hasn't happened in quite some time. And I know Hawk, I guess, said they're going to demonstrate and bring rallies to the street, and I guess there was some feedback against that by some that I saw.
He said what he said, blood or something.
Yeah. So maybe that's rhetoric, but but I think people will take to the streets, because we're tired of being abused by these cops. We're tired of more police, but crime still goes up. Fix the systemic issues that we're dealing with. Fix the housing issues. Fix the educational issues. Give folks a reason the homeless crisis issue. And I believe with all of that, you find the crime will naturally go down if people have a better quality of life and feel that they have some hope.
Yeah.
And if that's not happening, crime will never go down. You can have 50 million cops on every corner. It's not going to stop it. You'll show up after the person's shot, and all 50 of y'all will be looking at the person shot. It ain't going to prevent anything.
Right. So true. So true. We need betterment. We need betterment in our communities.
We need a way to get into internal affairs without being through the police department. I mean, people need to actually I'm talking about people who need to be able to be hired for internal affairs without having to go through the police department.
Because I guess it's separated,
when you think
right?
of the word, though, internal. So
I know.
Right.
That's the word.
Because that's through the department.
Through.
But then there's the independent, the CCRB, Civilian Complaint Review Board, which is separate. Which when our social justice committee, when we did one of our meetings regarding the police and police reform and stuff, we advocated for the CCRB to have more strength in what they recommend, and that their recommendations be adhered to. Because a lot of times they do recommend things, but it's the higher up in the NYPD that, no, it's not happening. You know what I mean? So what's the sense of having a civilian complaint review board?
Right.
Maya, can't think of the last name.
Maya Wiley.
Yeah, she was part of that at one time. But why have it if it's a joke? You understand what I'm saying? Because they do investigations. So that's the difference. Internal affairs is internal. It's and think about it, internal.
Yeah, but they seen
so you
affairs,
can't right.
internal affairs.
But that's why
more
you have
than
the
they-
AG. So you have the Attorney General to look into things. So that's outside. But when it's internal, yeah, the police can't police the police. Just like another police officer can't really arrest a police. So it has to be somebody from IB. So say if y'all both were cops and you wanted to arrest Stan and that's your partner, you can, but technically you can't. Internal affairs would have to arrest. So
You see, internal affairs.
yeah, but it's inside. So, but we need more. Police reform covers a lot. Covers a lot that we as people, as citizens, should be saying what we want and what we desire as public safety. Because if you go over there to Roosevelt Island, is it Roosevelt Island? Yeah, right, Roosevelt Island.
Roosevelt, mhm.
Right, you go over to Roosevelt Island, they're walking around, they're public safety. They have no weapons. They're patrolling, walking around, and it has worked in other countries. No weapons, but we got to get the weapons off our streets, right, from coming in.
Right.
And then things can change, because I say it in a minute, defund, disarm, and disband. And defund means reallocate funding. Everybody still get a paycheck. Nobody don't lose houses or cars. Disarm, let specialized units have the weaponry, like SWAT and stuff like that. And disband, meaning just break something down to rebuild it, restructure it. So I could say what I know and and I worked it. And I believe we would have real good public safety in New York City. Our kids look up to police, and kids have wanted to be officers when they were growing up years ago. Now, when the kids see the news, that's not a career, especially a black child might not want to do it. And then
Right.
the myth is, black people make a difference in law enforcement. No, skin folk and kinfolk. And at the end of the day, you want to be safe as an officer, so you can't always speak out against the things you see wrong because they're not going to back you up. Serpico, think
Right.
about Serpico,
Right.
And he was a white man, but think about Serpico in his 80s, when you whistleblow or say something, you considered a rat, and it's dangerous. So, like, where does it, is the culture, the union, the union has to be disbanded, they need new leadership, and the culture has to change. Because they take an oath and they need to, really be about that oath.
And I know Eric Adams called of fame is 100 black law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess his time then was trying to reform the police department from the inside, and I commend him for that, but I really am concerned, as we expressed on the show, that we're moving into an area or a direction that may bring us back, to the stop and frisk days, and if we're going back to that, then that's going to be a problem. I think he has some sort of investigative unit he's bringing back now. He's claiming it's going to be done better. We're going to see. We're going to see. 'Cause I know he ran on this whole safety thing, and he ran on, in my opinion, exploiting the fear, that people were having at a certain time, and we're going to see. But there are early signs that show that, he may be moving in a direction that people may not really appreciate, as we go forward.
Yeah.
And we're going to let you know, Eric. We're going to tell you about it.
Steph, people are going to be ready. Any closing remarks, team, before we sign off? We've hit our time. Thank you, everybody, for viewing. Let me just take a peek at the chat before Stan and Money Mike give some closing remarks. And I know Rock is watching because he texted once, twice already. Donnelly. Just goes to show how our resources are being, it keeps jumping, are being squandered on police when they can be going to community resources. That's right, brother.
We just passed the bar.
Yes,
Congratulations. Yeah, we
again.
waiting on you to get out here, boy. Big things to be done. Big
Most of the
things.
CCRB are former detectives. That's what it says as well. Renee
they ain't
Harrison,
telling
yes,
on the
family.
cops.
Roosevelt Island, public safety, visually seen always. Yep. Facts. Yeah.
Informer detectives ain't telling on them cops.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, listen, buddy,
I don't know how to
I've got you.
I'm Audrey Churchill. I grew up in LG. That's
Yes, I know
my
Audrey.
family
Yeah.
moved there in 1962 when the buildings were first built. I remember Maynard and Mr.
Maynard.
Powell's
Yep.
sign. Yes, yes, yes.
Yep.
Welfare has been good to us, but do we have to throw eggs out of the window? We had a tenant patrol, tenant patrol. And the king of 415 was Mr. Polite.
Mr. Polite.
We had a great elementary, middle, and high school within walking distance with gifted programs for only a selected few. The program should have been provided to all. We had city summer jobs and opportunities, but not everyone could participate, only a few. Thank you for that commentary. And Stan is like,
Lafayette Gardens in the house, absolutely.
I mean, people can, I believe we can, we know what we want. And that's another thing, our current, and then I'm gonna let you start closing down. This current mayor that's coming in, he needs to listen to the people. He needs to listen to the people about police reform and what we want to see as in public safety. He needs to listen to the people that are homeless, unhoused, and even those that are in homes and places now, but that have lived it. He needs to hear from these people.
Right.
He needs to hear from public housing residents. And as I always said, yes, we have resident council presidents, but we also have people like Mike, myself, and other organizers that live in public housing that are not in a position of council president, but we doing the work. We're doing
Absolutely.
our own work in our community, and we need to be listened to as well. So, we got to have a voice. He needs to just make time and speak to some of us. He needs to, make time and speak to some of us, and that'll make a difference, because I'm just pissed that I always see these administrations come in and make decisions for us for these 4 years, and they're gone, or they're still here for 8 years, and Bloomberg was 12. But with that said, these people don't live our lives.
Right.
And they don't give a damn about us, even with the infill proposal, when that was coming up, we were going through it at Homes in 2016, they had 40 developments already slated for infill, and they never released the numbers, the developments to us. Why? Because they felt we would go out and start organizing residents. But that was on the table, so they do stuff in secrecy. But I'm getting off. We're about to close down. I'm going to let Stan jump in, and then Mike can give us some closing remarks, and we'll be signing off in a bit. Go ahead, Money.
I just say, Eric, we're going to be watching very closely.
Yes.
I'm still, to this very day, not exactly clear on what your position is as it relates to public housing. I've yet to hear definitively that you are against privatization, RAD. I know you're kind of close with Donovan Richards. I saw some campaign literature with you and Donovan on it, and we already know where Donovan's coming from. Donovan is for the privatization of public housing in Queens. And so if you're running with people, who espouse that, it makes it very suspicious, as to what do you believe in. So very, very, very carefully, we're going to be watching you to observe what your position is. And when it comes to policing in our community, we're going to be watching for that too. We don't want to go back to the days and now witness Eric Garner's and the list goes on of people that have been shot and killed and murdered and choked by police out in the bumpers. It's endless, And just because you got a black face in the top seat don't mean that it's going to be less of that. I'm sure there's some cops who don't like the fact that they got a black mayor. Let's call it like it is. So there may be even more outrage amongst the police, because they got to listen to a black guy. And so we think that there's no racism within the police department, then we're all crazy. So we're going to be watching carefully. We don't want to be abused, by these cops. We want real resources for our communities, so folks won't have to turn to crime. They're turning to a job and an opportunity. And if you're not providing that, then get on out there and let somebody else do it.
Last words from Stan the Man. Money Mike?
Well, like I always say at the end, I just want everybody to subscribe to our YouTube page, NYCHA TV, and subscribe, and we will always be here for you guys.
Smooth Money Mike.
And let me give you all the weather since we didn't in the beginning. It's 46
Now I gotta get some
degrees.
sports updates too. I gotta do my sports.
It's 46 degrees. I can't talk about how the weather, how the highway was because I don't drive. Stan wants to give a little sports.
Yeah,
so
well, yeah.
I'm gonna go back down.
I'm a little tight as a Knicks fan. I think we're like 7-6 now. You know, so we had a couple of tough losses. You know, Brooklyn Nets come on tonight. They're doing well. We still don't have Kyrie, who is continuing to refuse to take the shot. You know, but he's expressing his right. You know, to do what he feels is best for himself. You know, but Kevin Durant and James Harden are pulling us through, so we're gonna be okay. But the Knicks, we gotta do a little better. Be more consistent. So that's sports one NYCHA style.
Yeah, Stan is on it. Yeah. So we thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for listening to us, hearing our take on this new administration and everything else we spoke about. You can email us at onenYCHA@gmail.com. That's ONE NYCHA NYCHA TV @gmail.com. And we're ONE NYCHA TV on YouTube as well. You could go there, click and like, subscribe, as Mike said. Follow us on our platforms. One NYCHA, the number one NYCHA is on Facebook, and the number one NYCHA. We have a group. Please join our group. Click and like on our Facebook, which is streaming now. On Twitter, we are ONE NYCHA. On Twitter and on IG, we are ONE NYCHA. And once again, thank you for tuning in. I guess we're out of here. And what you about to do? What your fingers doing over there? Huh?
I was
Showing me something? Oh, okay. So, so we out next week. Hopefully we'll have a very good show for you all with a good guest. Some things are in the work, and we have some things in the pipeline coming down. We do have some more elected officials that will be coming on. So be prepared for that. And we're looking to do something out of state, like, bringing some people in, public housing from out of state as well, like we did before.
Absolutely.
With Stan. And shout out to, like Stan said, all the organizations that are doing what they're doing. US for BLM, I believe this is day 460 or 461 for us. So shout out to us. And we're about to head out. One NYCHA, one people.
One NYCHA, one people.